Hello, Lovelyn. So today I'm going to be talking about the book First Sight by Danielle Steel. So with this book, it's another romance book. This is Romance Book Club. This book was very interesting. I liked the fact that it was well written with Danielle Steel. She's a really good writer. I usually like her books, but I have to say for this book, it wasn't one of my favorites, and not because it wasn't generally well written. It really was. It was the fact that I just could not get into the romance of it all. Perhaps it was a moral issue or a bias. I'm not really sure. Probably, most likely, but that's the thing. I just could not get into the romance for lots of reasons, which I'm going to discuss. So first of all, this book, First Sight, is about a multi-millionaire fashion designer named Timmy O'Neill. But she runs an empire company called Timmy O. Background story on her: she was adopted. No, actually, she was never adopted. She was put in foster care at the age of 5 years old. She was supposed to be adopted, but nobody ever wanted to adopt her. So now she's 48 years old with lots of questions and wondering. So up until this time, she had thought her parents had died in a car accident. Therefore, that's how she ended up in foster care. But the truth was, her parents actually gave her up at the age of 5. She comes to find that out a little bit later as the story progresses. But she's very sweet, very nice person. Like I said, she's like a millionaire, the superstar in her own right, very well known for her fashion and all that. So she ends up in relationships that, she knows she's not going anywhere, and they're usually younger than her, the men, and typically she doesn't care about that. She just doesn't want to be lonely, and she turns out to fall in love. Quick story: she turns out to fall in love with this one man in France, which happens to be one of her favorite places to travel to because she goes there for the runway shows and all that for her design. So at some point, her appendix bursts, but before that, she'd been having pain, so she calls a doctor that a friend of hers from New York told her about. It's a French doctor, and he comes over, and they kind of bicker a bit because he said she needs to go to the hospital, but she's like, I can't miss the fashion show. I've got to do this. Ready to wear fashion show. And she's really stubborn. She gets through the fashion show, but then her appendix explodes. And therefore, she's got to have emergency surgery. But all in that, after he sticks around, takes care of her, and through that, she comes to tell him her story. She was once married. Turned out the guy was bisexual, but he was in love with a man. But their marriage fell apart after their 4-year-old son died of brain cancer, which really left her feeling like she loses everything. Lost her parents, lost her husband, lost her son. She can't keep anything. Therefore, the relationship that she knows goes nowhere. That's what she always goes with. The young guys that she knows don't really love her and just like the fact that she's rich and she takes care of them. All in spite of not wanting to be alone. So that's a bit background of her. So she's got like 2 besties. There's David and there's I believe her name's Jade. Yeah, David and Jade. Jade was once madly in love with a married man, and obviously that didn't turn out well because he ended up not leaving his wife like he always said he would. She stuck in for about 10 years. She's 38 years old in the book. She stuck in for 10 years, and therefore nothing ever happened. So this guy that Timmy falls in love with, he's a married man. And initially, they weren't really into each other like that. They just felt a closeness for one another. But at some point, they fall in love. Like, first sight, they fall in love. And it's going really well. I personally felt weird about it because he'd mentioned that, oh, yeah, you know, at some point, oh, my marriage is dead. And he's getting a divorce, he's getting out, it's been dead for a very long time. He kept saying that. But to me, if you're still married, I just can't. I'm sorry. Like, if you're still married, you're married. Regardless of if it's dead. You sign those papers and you end that marriage. Because at any time you could go back and say, I just don't think I want to get a divorce. Which is what her friend Jade was trying to warn her about. The fact that that's always a possibility, and you can't trust married men who say they're going to get out of their marriage. You know, he says, oh, he's getting a divorce. He's just got to straighten out some things. You know, just give him. He asked for 4 months so that he can move out because his wife just needed him to take care of the kids, like just for the kids. Stayed till the summer. Till they get out, and he agrees. And then he asked her, well, will you do this for me? And so blah, 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 blah. And she says, okay, all right, yeah, that's okay. You're going to get your in place. You're going to move out, first of all, because they plan on selling their house. So he says, give me to June. All right. They having these mad love, mad craze, whatever it is. And at some point, she finds out she's pregnant, but chooses not to tell him. And he says, give me to June. But she had planned on telling him when they saw each other in June. So she's all packed up. The night before, he calls and says, you can't come to France, because she was supposed to go see him in France so they could look for a place for him. And she goes, why? And she goes, well, just found out my wife has breast cancer. And she's all devastated, like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Like, oh God, that's scary for her. And therefore now she doesn't want to tell him that, well, I'm pregnant, because she felt like she'd be manipulating the situation. So he says his wife has asked him to help her through the process because she's going to need to have surgery and have chemo. And she wants him to help her because she's really scared. And he goes, that's something he's going to do. And also his children are freaking out because they're afraid they're going to lose their mum. Point is, he's asking for more time. It's like, okay, well, you can't come now, but I'll let you know when you can come. So they played this game for a little bit. She's like, okay. Like, I think a month goes by and he calls again. And all he talks about is his wife. Constantly. All he talks about is his wife. She basically gets put to the back burner. And she's not important anymore. At least that's how she felt. And my opinion about something like that. Okay, so now you're in this relationship. He's married. But he says he's leaving. He's getting a divorce and all that stuff. Okay. I felt no matter what comes up, okay, if you truly love that person, you will make the effort. She was going to come there. And he said no. No, it'll be crazy for you. Like, I'm thinking about you here. And he probably was. But still, when you truly love somebody and you say, oh, I miss you, I can't be without you, that's probably not the best way of saying, I need more time because I got to take care of my wife now. It's like, okay. So then they eventually set the date for September 1st because he just couldn't make up. He just couldn't get enough time to see her. So he's like, okay, September 1st. Night before September 1st, she's all packed up. She gets another call and says, oh my gosh, my daughter, she was in Italy. She had a crazy accident. She's broken her pelvis, her legs, her head is injured. I thought, That's really funny. But it's wrong. I mean, that's horrible. Don't get me wrong. But it's like, oh, another thing. By this time, she still hadn't told him about the pregnancy, and she's like 5 months pregnant because she had planned on telling him when she saw him, because clearly she would be sort of showing. And she was like, okay, I'm not going to say that. I don't want to put that on him. He says, just give me some time. I can't leave her. She's not going to be able to leave the hospital for a while. So I can't leave her. And then she's like, okay. But by this time, she's sort of losing faith in their love. I'll say a couple weeks go by, couple days before October. He calls her again and says, oh my gosh, I told my children, and now they, one is threatening to jump off the bridge. My wife has radiation, is not, she had a bad reaction to it. It's not going so well. And then she just kind of lost it. Timmy lost it. She's in love with Jean-Charles, who's, he said, the French doctor. And Timmy just loses it and says, enough. It's one thing after another. Like, what about, me? Like, you say you love me. I haven't seen you in 6 months. It's like, and you say you love me. I can't, how about I just come over and I stick around? And he's like, no. So she gets in her head, oh my God, my friend Jade is right. He's never going to leave his wife. Even if he's telling all the truth, it's still, he could make an effort. And she pointed that out. You could bloody move out, get an apartment, and you could help out from that way and move on with your life. You don't have to live there, which is my point. But once again, that was the issue, and she breaks up with him, and she doesn't tell him that she's pregnant. So she decides she's going to raise that baby on her own, and she's just going to leave him. She's heartbroken because she's so in love with him. That's that. She ends up even lying, saying that she's been seeing somebody so that he wouldn't find out that she was pregnant for his, for him. And instead, he'll think it's for the guy that she's supposedly been seeing since he's left. So, get to the point at some time in France, she has to go there for another fashion show. And she falls on her back. She trips over. She breaks her ankle. And she has to go to the hospital. Her friend David all this time has been like having faith. We're like, oh no, I really do think he loves you. At least he needs to know about the father. She didn't plan on telling him. So he ends up calling him and he comes over. She didn't want him to come over, but he ends up taking her to the hospital. Blah, blah, blah. They get there. He still doesn't know she's pregnant because she's covered it up really well. At some point in the vehicle, he's like, oh, I'm really sorry. I really did want to leave my marriage and all of that. I did. She notices that he no longer has his wedding ring on. And he said, yeah, I moved out a week ago. And she's like, you moved out? End of story, pretty much. She gets back with him. He asks her to marry him, and it's like, wow. I honestly, to be honest, I don't know if I would have gone for that. First of all, I wasn't really okay with the relationship just because he was still married, and I feel like no matter how in love I am with somebody, it's like I would wait to be with somebody until those papers are signed and I am fully divorced and not still legally married, even though the heart of hearts we're not in love with each other, but you're still legally married and you're still living with this person. You say you're doing it you're doing the right thing because you got sick and the kids are upset, blah, blah, blah. But what about, why didn't you do the right thing? Like, I'm still legally married, so I shouldn't be doing this. Or, let's wait. They talked about waiting, but please. They didn't wait. So that happened. So that's all in all the romance of First Sight. I really could not enjoy the romance. There was no, for me, I understood where it was going and how romantic it all sounded after the life she's had, and I know that not everything happens the way we would like for it to happen, but at the same time, I feel he's married. So yeah, it's a moral thing for me. It's a bias, I suppose. I'm biased to get your divorce first and then maybe, see what happens. If you're so in love and we're meant to be together, then we can wait. And none of that life is short situation. Well, if we're gonna, if something were to happen, then you know what? Ultimately, weren't meant to be. But a little bit more about life. She ends up finding out that her parents were alive and they left her at 5 years old, which is like really horrible. She's like, I'm not a newborn. They were really poor and they went back to Ireland without her because they couldn't afford a ticket for her. But she was 5 years old. So she told the people at the foster care place to basically say that they died in a car accident. So all her life, till 48 years old, she thought that her parents were dead. Pardon me. But the guy, John Shaw, he's 57, she's 48. Great. In love. But yeah, like I said, I'm usually a fan of Danielle Steel's books. She's a great writer and I love her books. I usually love the romance stories. But with this one, I just could not get with it because for me, just... Also, I don't feel it was that romantic. I mean, I guess, yeah, you fall in love and then we take a trip and... Don't get me wrong, these are people's lives. It happens. It does happen. But I feel like you do really leave yourself open to lots of heartbreak in that one. I mean, love is hard enough with somebody that's not married and all that. So I imagine when you are with somebody that is married, that's like extra complicated. Especially when you're wanting to be that new woman in their life. There's still a main woman that he still very much recognizes as his wife. And that's when the problem comes in. So for me, this book, I think, read it, see how you feel about it. I personally just enjoyed the lifestyle that she was living. She had multiple houses. It was really nice, that she's this fashion designer, just like the top dog in her business, and is really sweet and kind, and she runs a shelter for kids that usually don't get adopted and age out of the foster care system. So because that was basically her, but she overcame all of that. So overall, there were parts of it I really did enjoy. But as far as the romances, which is what I typically look for, couldn't really get with it. I just couldn't get with it. Yeah, I could not get with it. I personally do not agree with her not telling him that she was pregnant, but I could see where she felt like, if he's going to come to me, I want it to be because he truly loves me, not because he's once again trying to do the right thing like he's been telling her with the family. So I get where she was coming from, but at the same time, it's his kid. God tell him. And that's just a risk you're going to also have to face, when you're with a married man, to know whether or not he's really going to leave his wife. That's the complicated part of it. But, yep, that was that. So, First Sight by Danielle Steel. Overall, I'll give it an 8. Because it's still a well-written book. even though I couldn't get with the thing, but it's more like a moral issue for me. It's my own opinion, you know, but still good book. Good read. I didn't get bored or anything like that. I got upset a lot, but I didn't get bored or anything. So, yep, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also tell me what you think if you get to read this book. Leave comments and let me know what romance books you like, and I'll definitely try to see if I can read them, because I'm always looking for really good books to read. Alright, well, thank you for watching. This was Romance Book Club edition for Fight Club, oh my god. Maybe that's probably what I wanted. It's like Fight Club. There needs to be a fight. That's too funny. First sight. Alright. Long day. Thank you for watching. Once again, subscribe. Thank you.